Hello, hello, hello. Is this thing on? Checking 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, yeah. Ready to start. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Design Career Network. I am your host, Andy Galpern, and we are here today with Michele Ronsen, a UX research expert and educator who's going to teach you how to break into user research. Before I introduce Michele, I'd like to say a few things about Design Career Network. We have YouTube shows every Thursday and some Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, we are here. Basically, Design Career Network an is a community organization slash YouTube show present. Well, how do we describe this? I'm going from I run Cascade SF, and that is a YouTube. Sorry, that is an experience design organization based in the Bay Area, and we basically teach designers how to excel in their careers. And Design Career Network is an extension of that. And what I'm trying to do is educate designers how to specialize in specific areas of user experience so you can enhance your career, you can do something different, and also learn about new fields. And we have content for designers all the way from new grads to 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 designers who want to become managers. And with that, I will happily introduce you to Michele Ronsen, who I am grateful that she's here today. Michele and I have worked together and collaborated on a few events now, and she's one of my favorite people to work with. Thank you all, by the way, for coming out today. This recording will be available. It's on YouTube, on our youtube.com/Design Career Network. Let us know how the volume is. How does the volume sound for you all? Waiting for the response. Yeah. Does it sound okay? Well, I guess it does. You can all hear me. So, all right. And Michele, so anyway, Michele is the founder of Curiosity Tank, which is a UX research expert organization that teaches workshops and guides designers and also researchers to elevate their research skills for product designers. And she's also worked with various, renowned organizations like Slack and Facebook. And I met her when I was consulting at Adobe, and she was giving an amazing presentation and just doing really, really great, like goodwill stuff for the people. She loves helping people and she cares so much. And that's why I love working with her, because it's genuine, she's real, and she's here to help you and make sure that you achieve your user research goals. So, on that note, I'm going to add Michele to the broadcast, which you're already there. Say hi. I'm like, hello. Okay. And I'm going to disappear for a bit. And how it will work is Michele will give a presentation, then we'll open it up for Q&A via YouTube chat. So stick around. It'll be worth it. You get all your questions answered and more. Thank you.
Great. Hey there, everyone. There's a little bit of a delay, so please bear with us. As Andy mentioned, first of all, thanks for having me, Andy. I love working with you too. It's always super fun. I am a user research executive, coach, and educator. I teach people around the world how to ask better questions. And I also design and facilitate corporate workshops and training. And all of this work is inspired by my consulting with Fortune 500s and startups and educational institutions for the last 20 years. About 10 years ago, I founded my first firm, which is called, still is called Ronson Consulting. And then just last year, I established Curiosity Tank. with the sole purpose of focusing more time on helping to educate the next generation of user researchers and helping people in general just learn how to ask better questions in order to make more confident decisions. Last year, I am thrilled to share that I taught over 3,200 students globally. And LinkedIn also honored me with a Top Voices Award in the technology category, which is just a huge, huge recognition for our industry. I've had the good fortune of working with some of the world's most renowned organizations, and even better than their brand reputation are the people in those teams and those groups. And I have just learned so much by working alongside of some of truly the best people in the world and in our industry, and I'm so grateful. So before we jump in, I was hoping I could just get a better sense of like what brings you here today, or what are you looking to learn most? Are you a designer? Are you looking to jump in? And Andy, I might need your help to read out some of the comments here. Um,
Sure, I'm here for you. Just
awesome.
waiting for everybody to respond. I might have to go look on YouTube because full stack developer here. Just curious. Hi, Eric. We have a delay because the StreamYard, which is the streaming presentation that we use, the online presentation software, it brings in the YouTube comments. But we
Great.
have we have graduate designers looking to break into research,
Hmm.
looking at a break in with the non-tech background. I'm
Okay.
sure we have some product designers in here as well. Break into research, just graduated with a UX design certificate, and yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
I'm
Great.
hiding out.
We have a good gamut. Okay, thanks so much. I'm so glad to see here. So before I dive in, Andy had sent me a bunch of questions, and before I dive in, I think it's probably helpful to establish a foundation of perspective in terms of where I'm coming from, to kind of ground this conversation. So I thought it'd be helpful to first talk about what types of design and product research jobs there are, and what are some focus areas within the industry. I did put together a slew of resources for you as well. And Andy will put the link to those resources in the YouTube channel, or if you want to take a quick screenshot here of the tiny URL. I'm going to mention a lot of these resources, so you probably want to log in and download it so you can follow along. And let's just jump in here. Okay, so what types of design and research jobs are there? So there's a variety of ways that you can break into user research, and there's a variety of positions within the user research realm. So you could be an intern, an in-house researcher, or a staff researcher, an independent researcher or consultant like myself, or a researcher that works for an agency, say maybe inside Echo User or IDEO, who service clients with their research needs. You can also work in something called research ops, which is research operations. And research ops generally helps researchers and research teams plan studies and facilitate studies and handle the recruiting, a lot of the archiving. You can be a workshop facilitator that plans and conducts workshops around research. And then there's different ways that you can work on research teams as well. You can be an individual contributor, you can be a research manager, you can be a research educator, maybe a participant recruiter, or a research program manager. Now, a research program manager might focus on things like what types of tools will the team use, or how to facilitate onboarding for new designers, or support for project managers or designers that are looking to identify what research already exists. All right, so that's kind of a broad overview of the different types of research jobs there are. Let's talk about some different focus areas within the industry. So we could talk about focus areas in terms of specific approaches or types of research, right? We've got qualitative research, we've got quantitative research or data analytics, we've got mixed methods, we have generative research, we have evaluative research, we have usability, accessibility, moderated or unmoderated. So some people choose to focus in one or a few of these areas, others don't. But you should just know that that exists. Some other focus areas within the industry might be on a specific domain. So, for instance, social impact or product research or service design research or hardware research or software research or maybe even voice. Okay. Now, in addition to focus areas in domains and approaches, there's also people that choose to specialize in an industry. So perhaps maybe they specialize in healthcare research or financial services or education or retail, hospitality. I mean, these are just broad sweeping examples. There's many more. And yet other people choose to focus on different populations. Maybe people focus on communities with physical inabilities, or people, for example, who may have vision impairment, or that speak a specific language, or fall within a different age category, or gender, or race, or income level. Okay, so there's a variety of different focus areas that you can choose to specialize in. So people often ask me, what do I do, right? What kind of research do I do? And typically my clients hire me to explore one of these 8 questions or some sort of variation of these questions. And it's often, what should we build, right? They have an idea, they see an opportunity, they think they're well positioned to fulfill that need, and they're looking to explore the space. They're looking to generate a better understanding of how they might fit into that space or what might be believable in that space. The next one is, who are my customers or my users or my members or my subscribers or whatever they call those people, or my prospects, right? And who are they really, like beyond demographics? How do they think? How do they feel? How do they behave? And what motivates them? Another one is, are we building the right thing? And this is often arises because we're not so confident or it's not working as intended. And the flip side of that is, are we building the thing right? So are we building the right thing and are we building the thing right are two very different questions. Are we building the thing right is more about, are we taking the right approach? Are we on the right track? And how do we ensure that? We want to feel more confident that we're heading down the right path, if you will. Number 5 is, why did this metric go up or down? Like, what's going on here? Maybe there was a big spike or a big drop, but we don't know why. Okay. Number 6 is, do they understand this? They meaning our customers, our users, our members, our prospects, whoever we're studying in that particular body of research. How do they interpret this? Does XYZ make sense to them? Number 7 is, how can we improve XYZ, right? How can we make it faster? How can we make it better or more intuitive? And number 8 is, should we implement this feature? What are the pros and cons to that? And I could be brought in at anywhere in the process. These are numbered sequentially, but I'm not necessarily working in a sequential order. I can be brought in just to work on number 5, or I can spend 3 months on number 7 alone. But I think it's helpful to establish this foundation so at least you know where I'm coming from. All right, let's get started here. Another question that I get asked very frequently is, here are those 10 questions. And I'll go through all of these today. Do I need a formal degree, right, in this or that? Do I need a PhD? What methods and platforms should I focus on first? What is a research portfolio? How do I get experience before I actually have a job? How do I showcase my effectiveness during interviews? What skills should I have or should I develop? What are the day-to-day tasks for a user researcher? How does the research differ based on the size of the company? And how can I stand out? And then last but not least, what are my top tips? So I'm going to cover all of this today. and more, and share a bunch of resources with you. So first, do you need a formal degree in human factors or HCI? Do you need a PhD? And the short answer is no, you don't. Although it may be very helpful, you do not. It is not required. I have a background in design and a background in education, and I find that that really helps me in the field. But I know many researchers who come from sales or customer service or hospitality and nearly every other industry. So it's really, really important to know that there's no one specific path, or there's no one right approach or specific background or educational requirement needed to succeed. So let me put your mind at rest there. If you're coming from a different area within industry, you likely have a ton of transferable skills, and you'll be able to tell that story better. If you're coming from academia, you have different transferable skills. Regardless of where you're coming from, you're going to have some big gaps to fill. And I know this because I teach people how to do this for a living. So I am familiar with the gaps from the academic side, and I'm familiar with the gaps that are coming from people from the industry side. Other backgrounds, if you're not coming from industry and you're not coming from academia, can really help you stand out and provide an advantage too. So my suggestion is to take stock of your skills and find which skills are transferable and figure out how to tell that story. In the resources, I've included a competitive analysis of over 70 different user research training programs. This was compiled by a student of mine, actually named Mo Goltz, and he updates it, and it is a terrific resource. So check that out when you can. The next question is, what methods and platforms should I focus on first? And I get a lot of beginners ask me about this. They ask me more about tools and platforms, and they think that they should be mastering platforms or tools in the beginning of their career. And the secret is that is not the way to approach it. Focus on learning how to ask better questions. Focus on learning how to conduct interviews with confidence with a variety of different populations and on different topics, and build your foundations. Once you learn how to ask good questions and gather the feedback that you need, that is where you're going to have the most impact. Focus on learning how to ask good questions first. And
Michelle, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I think that you're brushing against the microphone,
Ah,
and it's causing some noise. So I was just saying to be a little mindful of that, but it's okay. I'll edit this out. So
sorry
anyway,
guys. Okay,
thank
thanks for
y'all.
letting me know.
Yeah, no
Okay.
problem. Yeah.
So, okay, let's focus now on methods over tools. So I just mentioned focus on learning how to conduct user research, right? Focus on how to interview well and ask non-leading questions. The rest is going to come from practice. And here are 7 concrete reasons why. Number 1, you're not always going to have access to the same tools. The access to the tools and the platforms you use are going to depend on what clients or your employer subscribe to, and they change. They change frequently. They change due to consolidations in the industry and mergers, and they change due to evolutions and consolidations in the platforms. And number 2, there isn't always time, money, or a need to use a tool. Sometimes things like intercepts or guerrilla testing and or interviews or analytics are going to be a better source. Suitability. Tools also have separate functions, so you shouldn't be comparing them or choosing which ones to master or prioritize learning them until you have a specific research question or use case to evaluate it against. So a tool isn't always going to be suitable, and the tool that you know how to use won't always be suitable for your particular question set. Number 4 is familiarity. When you master a few tools before building a solid UX research foundation, you'll wind up trying to shove every study into the tools you know, because you won't know any better. And why won't you know any better? Because you haven't mastered your foundations. Okay. Number 5 is evolution. And I touched on this a little bit earlier. Technology evolves, right? But a strong methodological foundation will help you determine which approaches are best for the question at hand. Okay. Number 6 is preference. People tend to prefer every method, or the method, I should say, that they learn first in everything. So for example, Mac users will always prefer Macs, right? They're going to struggle with PCs. So if you learn how to master platform 1, 2, 3 first, you're going to try to shove every single study you have into platform 1, 2, 3. Because again, you didn't master your foundations, you're not going to know any better. And you know what? Platform 1, 2, 3 isn't going to be suitable for all your tests. And last but not least is learnability. You can always acquire new tools. The key is to master the underlying methodology in order to leverage the right tools effectively. So for those reasons, going back to the original question, which tools or platforms should you master? Focus on your methods. And in addition, you should be equally as cognizant of when you shouldn't conduct research. And I put in a resource of an Awkward Silences podcast that I did called 7 Reasons Not to Conduct User Research. And that's in your resources document too. All right, next question. What is a research portfolio? And why do I need one? Or do I need one? And what do I put in one? So a research portfolio is a set of case studies that you share during your interview process. It's going to help you differentiate yourself from others, share your background, show your personality, your transferable skills, and showcase your presentation and storytelling abilities. It is going to take into account, or should take into account, who your audience is, what's important to them, and how they will take in information. You should be customizing what you show your audience to address their needs, their interests, and the time frame that you have allotted. If you haven't conducted studies yet, then start to conduct studies on topics you're passionate about and create case studies about those. And I'm going to share some topic ideas with you as we progress. So, how is the portfolio used and when? Well, first of all, many jobs you apply for might require one to complete the application process. So if you don't have one to submit, there's no way you're going to get to step number 2. So you should keep that in mind. But a recruiter may review it or pass it on to the hiring manager or someone on the team to review it for an initial pass. If you're selected to progress through the interview process, you will be asked to present your work. So be prepared. You're going to be asked to talk through and explain your thinking and why you made certain decisions or trade-offs and what you learned from the project and things like that. So have a couple of different formats. You should have a short version of your case studies and a long version. So you can meet the needs for just a quick overview and a longer kind of presentation. You're going to want to show what you explored, what you learned, and why you took that particular approach. Also, I encourage people to include what they learned about research or collaboration or their stakeholders or operations that they could improve or do differently in the future, right? So I'm looking for learners when I'm interviewing someone. I'm looking for someone with a growth mindset. I'm looking for someone that doesn't have all the answers. I'm looking for someone who's willing to learn. So what format should it be in? Well, you know what? It doesn't really matter. I've seen them in PDFs. I've seen them in PowerPoints. I've seen websites. It really doesn't matter as long as you're conveying the information in easily digestible and easy to access ways, right? However, I've never housed my work on a public website, but many people do. So that's a consideration for you. I have always presented my work either in person or via screen share. I've never emailed it, but other people do. As you climb up the ladder, though, and as you progress in your career, you'll be asked to share work like this less and less. You just won't need it anymore. So, for example, I've only been asked to share work once in the last three and a half years. So know that this is sort of like a place and time, okay? And what if you only have boot camp work or group project work to share? I get this question a lot too. So I would call out your specific role in the research study and consider including details maybe about how you would have approached it differently if you didn't have the constraints that were in place, right? Or maybe if you weren't in the boot camp and you weren't provided that formula or that template. And what if your projects are all confidential? Great, most of our projects are. But there's nothing wrong with changing the names, and you should be removing confidential information, right? You can anonymize anything that's proprietary. Sometimes people try to use analogies or metaphors instead, and that can be really, really helpful. Employers don't want their own confidential information to be shared either, so they're mindful of this. It's totally okay, and you should be blocking out that identifying information. These employers are looking to understand how you think and the impact you've had. They're not looking at the details, okay? Now, I've created a resource for you, which is actually a newsletter that I wrote. This specific edition is about user research portfolios. So go ahead and take a look at that when you have a chance. All right, the next question is, how do I get experience as a user researcher before getting hired? Okay, well, I have lots of ideas here. And this is where I really think it's important to show your tenacity and your resourcefulness and your problem solving skills, right? It's a chicken and an egg problem. So number one, you got to take the initiative yourself. Don't wait for somebody to give you your first job. It's probably not going to happen like that, okay? When I hire a researcher, again, I want to know that they're resourceful. And one way you can really stand out from your competition is to demonstrate your problem solving skills. Be proactive and think of different ways that you can apply your research skills to this exact challenge and in other real world settings, right? Maybe conduct a study about people's experience getting their first user research job. What a great way to network and learn along the way. Or propose a study that straddles your current work experience and user research, right? Frame the past experience as a strength and apply user research to learn about that topic and learn about that domain. Or find and create a project that bridges your current experience with a UX problem or opportunity, right? Another idea is to do a study around how your target perceives your professional assets, your LinkedIn profile, your resume, your portfolio. What a great way to network with hiring managers, people on teams that are involved in the hiring process, and recruiters. And another idea, do a SWOT analysis of user research skills and build a plan to close those gaps. I would love to see that in someone's portfolio. It would show me how strategic they are, how resourceful they are, and how aware they are of where they might want to upskill, right? If you have access to other researchers, offer to take notes for them or to shadow for them. You can also volunteer or find incubators or accelerators and take courses that allow you to learn by doing. My Ask Like a Pro series is specifically designed to allow you to learn how to conduct user research while working on a real project. This resource that I have here is the same one that I just highlighted about portfolios. It's going to tackle both. So take a look at that when you have a chance. All right, how do you showcase your effectiveness when interviewing? Again, what I look for are the skills that I'm hiring for. Okay, so some of those skills are, I want you to demonstrate your ability to think like a researcher. I want you to show me your soft skills. I want you to show me your humanness. I want you to learn the lingo. I can tell immediately how seasoned you are by the core terminology you use. If you know the difference between a finding and an insight, it's different. If you know the difference between usability testing, and usertesting.com, they're different. Invest time to learn the lingo. Understand what the difference is in terms of our core terminology. I developed something called the UX Lex with UXers from around the world. It is a free resource dedicated to the evolving and interactive terms that we use every day. You could find this at curiositytank.com/UX-Lex. Check that out. And on there is an acronym decoder as well. You can sign up for weekly emails to get a term pushed to you every week on Term Tuesday. It's a great way to demonstrate your mastery and understanding of the industry. And another thing is, I want you to show me the impact that you've had. And I want you to show me that you understand the three parts of the triangle. To me, user research is equal parts art, science, and improv. And I want to understand and I want to see your understanding of these types of things, or at least ascertain and feel your curiosity and your dedication to learn. I also want to see the impact that you've had and how you've shifted a mindset or unstuck a team, right? Researchers help other people make more informed decisions. There's often a gap between where they are and where they want to go, and user research helps bring some process to bridge that gap in an evidence-based and structured manner. The gap can be big, the gap can be small, it may not be well defined or understood yet, but your role as the researcher is to bring that team together and help fill that gap in an evidence-based and structured manner. So tell me a story about that. Tell me a story. Maybe there's someone in the group that's really not bought into the process or the assumption. Tell me a story about those conditions and how you turned it around. Tell me a story about how you earn trust and how you collaborate with other people. Help me understand how you adjusted your approach on the fly when the recruit wasn't working or when the prototype broke down. Help me understand how you can improvise in the moment with human people, with technology, with changes in the landscape, when the goalposts move. Create the conditions, right, that enable the team to work together. I want to hear about those stories. I want to hear about a time where the team worked better together or accomplished a desired outcome in this specific time period. I want you to share stories with me about how you leveraged and improved your improvisational skills. These are all the core components and skills of being a researcher. I want you to tell me how you included other people and how you increased their buy-in and how you figured out the right scope or the right cadence and how you earned their trust. And talk about the outcomes and be crystal clear about the outcomes and the real impact and what resulted from it. Okay? Show me that you understand that UX is a team sport, that you understand that you as a researcher cannot be successful alone. Your success is intrinsic to your team's success. Maybe demonstrate that you paid it forward, right? You came up with a file naming system so that the PMs and the designers on your team could more easily retrieve and self-service or self-serve when they're looking for their own research or looking through the archives, right? Demonstrate this sort of pay it forward mentality, this do the right thing. And consider the UX of working with you, right? And the UX of interviewing you. Tell me about that. Tell me about how you make it easy to be a candidate. Are all of your assets organized? Are they clearly labeled, right? Think about the user experience of working with you and interviewing you. Tell me that you understand the importance of a research plan, right? And that it's the foundation of all good research and why. These are the things I want to hear about. Here is the link to the resource that I mentioned earlier about the lexicon and the acronym decoder. So check that out when you can. And let's dive into skills. Specifically, I'm going to talk about human and soft skills, right? So conducting user research includes much more than executing a set of tasks on various platforms, right? We discuss the soft skills that are needed or the human skills because what we're doing is connecting on a human level day to day, not only with the participants that we're interviewing, but with our stakeholders, right? We are collaborative. And these soft skills, they're much harder to teach and to learn than the technical skills. I could teach pretty much anybody how to do something technically, but I can't necessarily teach you how to improve your soft skills. The following come into play way before you gather any data. So it pays to hone these skills sooner rather than later. Okay? If you're going to practice and you want to put your focus somewhere, you want to really, really focus on and tell me stories about how you gained stakeholder alignment, how you manage disparate personalities and agendas, prioritize key questions, build a collaborative and inclusive process, focus on solving the right problems, not being right, identifying and mitigating bias, educating and evangelizing for ethical, responsible research, negotiating between the big picture and the details, communicating clearly, frequently, and succinctly, and learning how to ask great how and why questions that move past what. Great interviewers and great researchers tend to possess all of the skills that you see here. Focus on the soft skills, and the rest will come from practice. This is a great resource from Amy Santee. It's called 118 Ways to Get a Job in User Experience Research. I've linked to this in your resources document as well. It's really excellent. All right, let's talk about the day-to-day tasks of a user researcher. Oops. It says day-to-day tasks or a user researcher. Sorry about that. Okay, so first of all, it depends on the role. It depends on the level of seniority and the org. It also depends on where you are in your research studies. On any one day, I could be conducting secondary research to build my knowledge base before I begin a study. I could be planning, I could be meeting with my stakeholders to gather assumptions, prioritize my question sets, gather feedback on a plan or a screener or a guide. I might be recruiting participants or scheduling them. I might be in a study, actually gathering feedback from participants. I might be piloting study, right? I might be figuring out which strategic note-taking strategy I'm going to use. I might be analyzing, synthesizing, report writing, creating video highlight reels, sharing learnings, archiving, learning, right? Continuing to learn and hone my skills. I might be partnering or I might be workshopping. So it's hard to say what the day-to-day tasks are. So again, it's going to depend a lot kind of on your level within the research kind of ecosystem and within the organization as well. I think probably a better question to tackle is how does research differ based on the size of the company? And I honestly don't think it really does. I'm still answering those 8 questions, so to speak, whether it's a super small smart startup or a mom and pop restaurant or a really UX mature organization. I think the question about how does research differ is far more based on the UX maturity stage of the organization than it is on the size of the organization. By UX maturity, I mean, where are they in terms of inception and prevalence and true integration of their own UX maturity and becoming user-centered? So if you're not familiar with UX maturity, I would look that up. That will have a much bigger impact on your day-to-day tasks and the type of research that you do, and the level of buy-in and education that is probably going to come along with it. And for this topic, I've pulled out a resource called Reaching Out to Mentors in the UX Community. Paul Derby wrote this. It's excellent. It's all about how to make that ask and to find the person. And I bring this up in this section because it would be great if you connected with mentors that have experience at all different levels of UX maturity. All right. So how can you stand out from the crowd? Well, there's a couple of ways. And being resourceful, I have outlined a few creative ideas for you. The first is to frame your transferable experience in the right way and practice telling that story, right? Identify those transferable skills and practice telling them to audiences that you don't know. Record yourself on Zoom, telling how they relate to user research and do a study or 5, right? I mentioned earlier, do a SWOT analysis on your own hard and soft skills, then come up with a plan to address them. Share that work. I would love to see that. That would demonstrate to me that you're resourceful, that you're creative, that you're humble, that you're willing to learn, that you're willing to go the extra mile, right? Or do a study on your professional assets, then come up with a plan to address the gaps, right? Not only is that a great networking opportunity, but it's a great conversation with a hiring manager. Demonstrate you have a basic understanding of the key UX roles and the people that you're going to work with, and how products and services are developed, and the basic cadence of the research process, and that it all starts with a solid plan and builds off of that. It's a scaffolding process. You cannot and should not go to the next stage in your research without solidifying the one before. And it all starts with the plan. Okay? And again, stand out by knowing the difference in our terms and using our terms correctly. Go through your LinkedIn profile, go through your resume, go through your case studies, and look up every single term to make sure you're using it correctly. And again, find some mentors. This is a great resource that I pulled for you. Actually, almost a year ago today, we held a panel discussion called What I Wish I Knew Before Starting a Career in User Research. And it's a 2-hour panel discussion, primarily focused on transitioning from academia into research. But there is a ton of information in 6 pages of resources that go along with this. All right. So what are my top tips to break into the field? Here you go. First of all, don't look for a silver bullet because there is none. Okay, it's chicken and an egg. You need the experience to break in, but it's hard to get the experience. So, number 1, ask yourself if your day-to-day behaviors line up with your goals. Is what you say you want correlating to the goal you seek? Be honest with yourself. Are you actively trying to grow your skills or not? Okay. Are you actively putting your learner and your growth mindset to work every day? Number 2, develop and articulate a point of view on user research. When I interview you, I'm going to ask you questions about how you think about the industry and how you feel about it, what's motivated you to join, about some trends that you see, how you think the industry will evolve, right? I want to know who you might admire in the space and why, how you contribute to the community, why you're an advocate for the people that we design for. Think these things through. If you're really, really passionate about breaking in, you should have an answer to these types of questions. And know your story and know your value. Find a unique way to leverage your background. You are a unique person with a unique set of skills and experience. You have a beautiful mind. Help me understand how that perspective and experience translates to the job at hand, right? Research is in large part, is about story finding and storytelling. Practice your own story, your unique value and approach, and be able to articulate why you, right? Number 4, listen more and talk less, okay? Now, as researchers, we gather information by listening and observing. And sometimes I feel that the younger generation isn't listening enough. So take time to pause and to breathe, and sometimes just take a step back, right? Sometimes that's what's needed to make the best step forward. And gather job descriptions for the roles that interest you. Number 5, and again, analyze the criteria desired. Do a SWOT on yourself with that criteria and build a plan to address those gaps. Include this in your portfolio. Show me you're hungry. Show me you're eager to learn. Show me you're strategic. Show me you're a self-starter. Number 6, build your network and your confidence. The Ask Like a Pro series is focused on confidence because that's the number one thing people want to build. Confidence is a mindset, right? We spend a lot of time getting the practice you need to build your confidence. Never stop working on building your confidence or your network. These are lifelong skills. Now, the topics may change, but the discipline won't. Okay. Your next job, by the way, is likely to come from a connection. Surround yourself with people who have the skill and the types of roles you aspire to acquire. 7, consider becoming a tester on one of our many platforms. We conduct studies on Dscout. We conduct studies on Usability Hub, on Validately, on usertesting.com, on a variety of survey platforms. Do some research and sign up to become a tester. You want to see how other researchers do it? Caution, you might see some pretty shitty tests, but you're going to get a much better sense of like the lay of the land. I'll never forget the first time I ever saw someone link to an NDA on usertesting.com. I almost fell off my chair. That was brilliant. How many times have I done that since? Quite a few. So you'll learn how other researchers do things by taking tests. Now, I say that, but it is really, really important that you never, ever, ever participate in a study for which you're not qualified. These studies have screeners. Be honest, okay? Karma is real. This industry is small. Some of those studies are only going out to 4 or 5 participants. If you take that study and you were not qualified, you are going to skew that data. Karma is going to come back to bite you in the butt. Don't do it. Remember, ethical research, right? Ethics is a big part of what we do. But becoming a tester is a great way to increase your knowledge. Get involved in our community, okay? Demonstrate your commitment to contribute and to learn. Expand your horizons, build your network and your empathy skills in the process. Also, I keep a kudos file. It's in my inbox. And when I get some really good feedback, I put it in my kudos file. And when I get really down, I go up to my kudos file and I read it. And then it lifts me up, right? You guys should all keep a kudos file because it's going to get tough out there. I know it. Been there, right? Download the resources that I linked to. There's a ton of materials there to inspire you. And please connect with me on LinkedIn. Most of what I shared today was gathered from my previous posts. I write all the time on LinkedIn. Most of what I write about are conversations from the classroom. So I hope that you will connect with me there. Let me give you a quick overview of the resources that I put together. First of all, I created some discount codes for Design Career Network to give you some discounts on some Curiosity Tank resources. When you click through to the resources, you'll see a 25% off coupon to all of my Q2, that's April, May, and June courses at General Assembly, and a 10% discount code for Design Career Network. It's design-career-network-rocks, !10%. And here are all free Curiosity Tank resources that I mentioned earlier. And a bunch of, this is how you can learn more about the workshops on the Curiosity Tank site if you'd like. This is, again, a picture of the UX Lex. All of this, the UX Lex and the resources are free to you, as well as the newsletter and additional resources. I also want to highlight 2 people whose documents that I included in your resource. One was Amy Santee, and she wrote the article 110 Ways, and the other is Paul Derby, who wrote the article about mentoring. I've worked with both of these guys really, really closely, and not only do I adore them both, but they're truly experts in their field. They're both UX and UXR coaches. If you're looking to get some feedback and to work with a professional, I would highly recommend both of those people. Other resources I compiled for you are 46 interview questions for user researchers based on people who interviewed at these companies. The 118 Ways article by Amy, 70 training user resources, UXR training and course comparisons from Mo, an imposter syndrome episode also from Mo on career therapy, and the Reaching Out to Mentors in the UX Community article by Paul Derby. I hope that's helpful. And that's all I have.
Amazing, amazing. Here, let's go into Q&A, everybody. Here, okay. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. There's a little bit of okay, PowerPoint type of, well, whatever. Okay, thanks for the tips, everybody. I love, like, we had some endless kudos for Michele. Very, very great feedback throughout the entire stream. And we do have some questions I saw that were running through the entire presentation, but I feel like it was just such a dense, awesome presentation that answered so much, even for like myself, who is a practicing UX designer for quite some time. And I've done some research. I still learned a lot. So I'm like excited to dive into your resources and continue to learn. So now let's open it up for questions from our lovely YouTube audience. Let's see. That was awesome. Here, I just want to show you. We have, thank
Oh,
you.
I'm so glad. I couldn't see any of you guys. So that's great. Thanks for the feedback. I'm
Oh, here
glad.
we go. Okay, so we'll start with Gabrielle. For individuals coming from an experienced but non-UX consumer insights traditional product research background, would you recommend creating case studies for their own work and including it in their portfolio?
Yes. I think case studies are a great way to demonstrate, again, your transferable skills, your storytelling skills, your public speaking skills. It's a great way to demonstrate how you think, the problems that you solved, the challenges that you overcame. And I'd put together a short version and I'd put together a longer version, like a quick overview, and then a version that you used, when you're actually meeting with teams. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, we also have like Sunny Patel, who is a LinkedIn senior UX researcher from LinkedIn, broke into UX research from academia, and she'll be giving a talk at the end of the month. So, well, not at the end of the month actually, and I think it's in April, but stay tuned. And I'll actually link to that as well. And I know that Michele, just to add on, I know that you mentioned the research plan. You also gave a presentation on how to put together an effective research plan when you're starting your research, and I have that recorded as well, and I'll also include that in our show notes. So there's like
Great.
it is like a gold mine of awesome. Okay. Um Okay, let's see. Um, this is Jess Stevens. Thank you so much for all of that. When it comes to a research portfolio, do you think it matters if someone has case studies that are all in the same field or subject, or is a variety preferred?
Jess, I think that's dependent. If they're all in the same field and you're interviewing in that field, it might be very helpful. If they're all in the same field and you're looking to make a switch, maybe it's not going to be so helpful. So I think that's probably contextual. I
Okay.
like variety. Um, I think that variety, I mean, my preference would be variety. If you have a choice, if the question is like, I have a choice, then I would go for variety, but tailor which case studies you share to the audience, right? So if you're interviewing in healthcare, maybe you include one healthcare. If you're interviewing in, hospitality, maybe you include, something in hospitality. That's a good question.
Yeah. Um, this is a great Eric E. The remix of he asked this earlier by accident, but what is the most common mistake you see entry level UX people making? Do you mean UX research? Let's say UX researchers making, since that's within the. Um, what is the most common mistake you see entry level new researchers making?
Um, how do I say this? First of all, the laser focus on wanting to learn how to master a tool or a platform. I don't have any interest in it. I would rather hire someone that has no experience on any tools and platforms and knows how to ask good questions rather than someone who could, knows how to use all the platforms. So I would say number one is where to place your focus. Build your foundations first. Once you know how to ask good questions, you'll be able to choose the best tool for your study. And then second, I would say really not understanding how critically important a research plan is, and not only knowing how to write a research plan and how to author a plan, but how to author a plan with stakeholders so that you have buy-in from that very beginning stage. Third, I would say, is not piloting your studies. At this point, I've conducted, maybe, I don't even know, 1,500 studies, interviews. I still pilot every single study every single time. And I pilot all of my unmoderated studies too. I pilot my card sorts. I pilot everything. Pilot.
And just for clarification, what do you mean? Can you define piloting your studies?
Oh,
So,
sure.
yeah.
So you want to do a full dress rehearsal of your study. If it's an interview, either over recruit and treat that first interview session as like a pilot, like a rehearsal, and test everything at that time. Your guide, your stimuli, your technology, your note-taking strategy, how you're going to communicate with your stakeholders in real time, your lighting, how you're going to get the links to them, any activities, a full-on dress rehearsal.
That's great. That's very, very helpful.
Mhm.
Corey's asking, how do you, you mentioned the importance of showing your impact. How do you show impact on NDA studies or personal projects?
So I think impact can come in a variety of ways. It doesn't have to be a percentage of, increased conversions. It could be um, um, as a result of this study, we modified the requirements for the MVP in this way. As a result of my collaboration, we were able to narrow down the scope of the project and approach it in phases so that we could keep the teams moving and get just-in-time answers. As a result of this study or my collaboration with the team, we were able to make more informed decisions, and it actually impacted, I don't know, the launch messaging in this way. Right? So
Yeah.
maybe what you're showing is your research plan, or black out any sort of confidential information and point to like maybe your key questions, and then show a screenshot of that in real life, right? Like of that key message that you tested, or the variation, or show your assumption and then the final, things like that.
Like you're basically saying like, from all the research that we did, we understood our audience better and we're able to communicate directly to them, or something more on, but it's like, what if the project is just for fun? How do
So
you, yeah,
if it's just, well, fun, all my projects are fun, right? Like I love what I do what I love, so I think they're all fun. But on a personal project, what did you learn, right? What did you learn? If we take the project about doing a SWOT analysis on your skills, what did you learn, right? What was the outcome? Did you build a plan? How did you attack that plan? If
awesome.
you're looking to buy a new washer and dryer, right? Are you going to do a competitive analysis on stackable washer and dryers? Great. What was the outcome? Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Um, Lindsay, Zay. Thanks, Zay. Thank you for doing this. Do you have any advice for standing out to hiring folks who seem focused on years of experience over hard and soft skills?
Any focus on standing out? Yeah, I think I gave a couple of ideas. I would continue to network. I would never stop networking, right? Your network is your net worth. And I would continue to build your confidence, and then do some more introspective things. Um, Dig a little deeper, right? And your soft skills, your people skills, and by the way, your impact could be in a people or human skill way too. I'm not just looking for metrics. I'm looking for, impact in a variety of ways. Um, I think it also, Lindsay might want to consider whether you're applying for the right jobs. If years of experience over harder, to me, that's not like an either or. So I would wonder if maybe there is a leveling mismatch there.
That makes sense. Like in terms of finding the right fit for you and that you're aligned with, or like maybe for the I think most of the companies that are interviewing are looking for the right match and culture match and skills, of course, but it's like if they are not aligned with the product or like don't have any interest in that particular field or, then they might not be the right fit. So it's more I do agree with I think what you're saying right there is spot on, Michelle. Like about understanding who you are and how and the companies that you're applying for. So, okay, now we have so many questions.
This is great, you guys.
It's wonderful. We have such a great audience tonight. Thank you all. Oh, by the way, if you're coming in right now, make sure that you like and subscribe to the Design Career Network. It helps us grow and also helps us continue to create these awesome videos for you. So, and bring in wonderful guests like Michelle. Okay. Oh, this is awesome. Uh, so Julius had another question that I thought was really great, but I just pressed this one, so we'll go for this question first. How much is UX research showing up in environmental and sustainable companies? It's interesting.
I think typically when people think of UX research, they think of digital products, which isn't accurate. Like UX stands for user experience research. So, and there's a lot of different names for it as well. I don't work in that space right now, so I don't have a purview on it. Most of the work that I do and most of my clients are in the tech space. It could be real estate, it could be communication software, it might be design, it might, and it might be healthcare. But I'm not working in that space right now. I can, definitely say that there is a massive increase in awareness of what user researchers do and the benefit and the impact that they have. And that's demonstrated by a variety of things, like the sheer number of jobs that are available in the space compared to even 2 years ago is got to be, I mean, it appears to be double or triple the amount of jobs. Now, equally, there's also, much more competition now as well. And then also, the LinkedIn Top Voice honor, that's huge recognition for our industry, that LinkedIn would recognize user research and in the technology category. And I specifically asked them, like, why did you not put me in the design category? Because I was really curious. And they were extremely thoughtful about it. And they said that the editors went back and forth, and they felt that I could have a more impact in the technology category because fewer people in technology as a whole had an understanding of what user research was and the value it added to the process. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually that goes into another question that I saw up here, which was about hold on, wait. We have environmental sustain. Also, just to add to that, I know that the funding for environmental green technology, eco-friendly, sustainable technology, well, technology that's going to help, the environment is being well funded right now too. So getting familiar just with like the basic climate and climate change, all the whole ecosystem of the entire landscape of climate change, and just understanding like maybe My Climate Tech on the podcast. There's a podcast called My Climate Journey, or My Climate Tech. Just search for it, and if you want to get into like specialize in that specific area, you should get more familiar with the field first, and then unless you're already familiar with it. That's a weird assumption.
There's
But
definitely tons of work in
yeah, yeah.
solar, and in I mean, I don't, I guess what I'm trying to say is my hunch is that it's growing in, most industries based on what I see, but I don't know anything particular, about environmental or sustainable.
Okay. And I'm like, which one should we do you see the questions, Michelle, on the right?
I do. Yep.
Okay.
Would I mind talking about references? Why do we need them? If yes, how is it important? So, yeah, I again, you should building your network and continuing your own learning, should be like breathing. um, I would never stop, right? It's a part of what we do, and we're a community. The UX community is one of, some of the most gracious, helpful, collaborative, knowledgeable, curious people on the planet. Um, so yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you want to have references? For sure. Um, when I went into UX, this is from Cindy Ivy. I thought I would be a designer, but time instructors led to research. I still grapple with how one knows what kind of UXer they are, what
Oh, that's
market
interesting. What makes
one.
one a designer, and that actually pairs well with the other question that Julius had, which was, is it more common to be a hybrid of a UX designer and researcher rather than being a sole UX researcher?
Okay, so let me take Cindy's first. So
Yep.
what makes you want a designer or a researcher? So a designer may do some research, but their primary job is to design. Um, a researcher rarely does design work, although I come from the design side, so I can draw like a mofo. So I can do like visual markups and sketch and stuff like that. Some researchers, will do wireframes and things like that, but it's more rare, I would say, in my opinion. Um, More designers are expected to know how to do research than I would say researchers are expected to know how to actually design or prototype. So I'd say like which one do you long to do, or do you really long to do both? If you long to do both, then you're going to want to pursue like a full stack design job where you
And that
can really.
actually Yeah, and that leads into our next question, which is it more common to be more of a hybrid of a UX designer and researcher than being a sole UX researcher?
There are many more UX design positions. I'm not sure what percent of those are hybrids. I think my hypothesis, though, is that as people see and the value of research continues to grow, you're going to see more researchers, and the amount of designers will stabilize. When you have more researchers, you need less design because you're designing from a more informed point of view.
And should product designers or UX designers, should they be researchers as well?
Learning how to ask good questions, I think should be taught in elementary school. I think it should be like math, science, English, ask good questions.
I love
No
it.
matter no matter whether you're a dentist or, learning how to ask good questions and make informed decisions will help you in not only your professional life, but in your personal life and all of your relationships. Um,
Absolutely, and not being afraid to ask questions until you get to the core of whatever you're looking to get answered, and it's like, it doesn't have to come immediately, just like editing, like, you have to just keep going, and going, and going.
yeah.
But anyway,
These
so
are great
Annie.
questions, you
Yeah,
guys.
they really are, they're fantastic. Annie Malcolm, what kind of work would you wanna see in a portfolio from someone coming from anthropology or writing ethnography, like an academia background?
Um, so, so the gaps that I tend to see coming from academia are the different styles in communication. So, typically, I joke, right? But I mean this with love and light. Academics are far more verbose than we are in industry. We don't write in paragraphs; we write in bullets. So, I want to know that you can speak my language and communicate in a way that we normally communicate. Another would be a sense of design, right? Because part of the presentation in the portfolio is demonstrating you understand how to communicate visually. And what we do as researchers is a lot of visual communication. Another thing to consider, what I would want, highlight your understanding of industry. That's a big gap that I see. Most academics know how to ask good questions. They understand like the basics of or a great deal about research ethics and biases, but really don't have a good understanding of how products are developed, or what an agile environment actually looks like, or why we work in sprints and what the benefits are, and the speed in which we work in. So maybe include some timelines and make them short. Is that helpful?
That is so great, and it's actually really great for, like, all for anybody coming out from, like, they might have a PhD or in, psychology, or in I've seen anthropology and ethnography, like, and I love the idea that they have to get familiar with, like, what is product, how is product being created, what is the design process, like, and also, Michelle, something to ask, what about, tools, design tools? How familiar do you have to be with design tools as a UX researcher?
So I would know the names of them. Like I would know the names of the basic prototyping tools, like Figma and
XD.
XD and Envision. Those things are helpful because it's part of the lexicon, right? It's part of the dialogue that you're going to have every day. It's not necessary to know those tools. It's helpful if you need to make like a quick switch, but most full like established research positions, I don't think that's expected. I think it would be like a real nice to have.
Nice. And also, like, for, like, commenting maybe if you're doing, like, user testing with somebody, do you need to know the tools to be able to, like, add comments, say that you're inside of a Figma prototype, and, you might
um
have.
I have never been asked to add comments inside of a prototype ever. um
I'm thinking more like a startup person, maybe. Or maybe
um
I'm not a
yeah.
full researcher, which is oh, no, I'm just
I,
kidding.
I wouldn't invest your time there. I'd invest your time in learning how to ask good questions and in building your collaboration skills and facilitation skills. The way I teach is, think about your stakeholders as like a group of wandering cats, and you want to get your arms around these wandering cats, right? Because your success is intrinsic to their success. You cannot be successful unless they're successful. So we all have to get to alignment, and we want to make sure that our research goals are matching up to, or they're all laddering up to our business goals, and we're all working towards that same goal. And there's many, many other skills I would invest in. I would put that way at the bottom.
Okay. Now, Laura, this is actually the last question that we have time for tonight. But I feel like this is less of a career question, but it's also could be relative to, say that you're going into a job interview, or like, this is more like a skill question. But what are some questions or phrases to start a user interview that could make users feel comfortable opening up?
Okay, so this is an interesting question. Just for clarity, you mean participants. I'm interpreting this as user interviews with participants. Okay,
Exactly.
so well, first of all, you should start with like an opening script that introduces yourself, the broad topic, sets their expectations, lets them know how long the session will be, if there's going to be any sort of activities in the session, or if you're going to be working on a prototype, what a prototype is, how the information will be used, that it will be aggregated and used to inform, XYZ. You should explain and gather informed consent to record. Let them know that there's no right or wrong answers to anything that you're going to discuss. You're there to learn from them. They're the expert on their experience in whatever space or domain you are exploring with them. And there's just, kind of like a checklist that we go through to set everybody else up for success, right? Including yourself and the participants. So I would start to make them feel comfortable in that introduction and make that more of a dialogue. Ask if they have any questions. If maybe they've ever participated in something like this before. Some researchers like to start with like, how's your day going? Or where are you based? Like, oh, in Boston, how's the weather there? That's not really my style. I'd like to start with like a bigger, broader question first that confirms their must-have criteria to participate in that study. So I might say, thank you so much. Let's jump in. I just want to confirm first that I'm understanding you are in the market to purchase a home, and you're purchasing a home in what price category again, or something else to confirm their must-have criteria, right? And this is criteria that they would have provided in that survey screener to, we screen in the right people and we screen out the wrong people. So I would build off of some information that they've already provided me and make it very clear that I did not design anything that they are about to see today. And if I did design it, then I would just say I work on the product team, but do not offer any sort of explanation with your relationship to the design or the writing. You want to encourage them to be as candid as possible. And I go as so far as to say, I did not design or write anything that you will see today. Don't introduce yourself as the designer. If you're the designer, introduce yourself as a member of the product team or whatever org you sit under, and let them know that, I think, what's my line? My line is, the more candid you can be, the easier my job will be to do. So I do it at kind of a couple of different levels before I start asking questions. I hope that was helpful. That felt like a long answer.
No, it's great. And I also love that if we rewind back and remember that you said to practice and do like the dress rehearsal and do the pilot, like keep practicing over and over again what your
Yeah.
script is, just like you're going on stage. It's so helpful. Okay, that's all that we have for all the time that we have for questions today. We did have some questions about like what resources will help me draft a method and a plan that I can present to stakeholders and owners. I'm guessing that's at curiositytank.com.
Yes, I teach a whole class called Plan, and it's all about how to build a solid research plan with stakeholder buy-ins. You can watch that class live. You can watch that class on demand. There's a variety of different participation levels. Yeah. It's a great class. Super fun.
Awesome. This has been such a wealth of information. I'm so grateful to have you, Michele. Everybody give it up for Michele. We gotta have emoticon applause, standing ovation, kudos, endless
Yeah,
kudos.
thank
Wow.
you.
Although I could just go here and just this is gold. Thank you so much. Here we're doing
Oh,
the
you're
good.
so welcome. Please
Love what
connect
you
with me on
said.
LinkedIn. Oh, it's really
Thank you
nice to meet you
so
guys. Hang
much.
in there. I know it feels a little tough right now, but stick to it. Be resourceful. You're very, very welcome. Awesome. Dense in the best way. Excellent. Amy
Now,
Santi.
oh wait, yeah, Amy.
Yay,
And
Amy.
got cool hair. And then generous investment.
Corey. She's one of the,
Aw,
oh, that is so sweet, Corey. Thank you so much. Corey is one of my Ask Like a Pro students,
thank
and
you.
she's terrific. Oh,
And then
this
I
community is
love
amazing.
I love it. No, and this is actually thank you, Michele, also for bringing in, for sharing the event with your community and bringing everybody in. I'll also link to your other presentations that you've given at Cascade SF, which is actually Design Career Network is the parent company for Cascade SF. Cascade SF is for San Francisco local experience designers, but we expanded
Right.
to Design Career Network. And just to let everybody know, we have, I know this is user research, but maybe some of you work in design. Hold on, let me see if I can show you without, well, that's a background. Yeah, without Andy, but whatever. This Thursday, we have David Huang, who is a design director at Webflow. He's going to talk about transitioning from being a designer, individual contributor to becoming a manager. And he has a presentation and will answer all your questions. So go ahead and subscribe to us and join us. We also have a Cascade SF meetup group, meetup.com/Cascade SF. I'm trying to transition that into the Design Career Network, but for now, all the alerts and everything will be on that page. So, and also designcareer.org. That is where we have our upcoming schedule for everything Design Career Network. And thank you all so much. I'm going to end this broadcast and we're going to say good night to everybody. Bye-bye. Thanks, Michelle.
You're very welcome.